Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be creating a very clean and simple card with just one focal point, a very beautiful little mushroom stamped image and a tiny little sentiment. We will be adding a little pop of color around the stamped image. Well, before we get started, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel. Now here's a look at this beautiful stamp set which is called the Little Mushroom House by Altenew. This is a 3 by 4 inch stamp set which has a mushroom with little tiny door, window and even a chimney and some flowers to form a little garden area in front of the house. Now you could stamp this image repeatedly on your card to create a background, or like I did here, we will be creating a beautiful focal point out of the stamped image. This does come with coordinating die sets. Now the sentiments on this says hello and nice to see you. I will be using the hello sentiment for one of our cards today. I plan on using alcohol markers to color this image. So I'm using the Memento Tuxedo black ink because that works well with the alcohol inks. Now, since this was a new stamp, I decided to rub my fingers around it so that just it's not as sticky as a new stamp would be. I also stamped this image twice just because I planned on creating two cards. For this video, I just show you how I create one card. The second card is quite similar. I just use a different color layout and also add a different kind of sentiment. Now, once I stamp the images, I use the coordinating die to cut out these images and take a look at how adorable these two are. Now, here's the die set that coordinates perfectly with this stamped image. You could also stamp it directly on an A2 size panel and create a background. Now, I'll be using the Spectrum Noir TriBlend markers to color both of these images. I kept the coloring here very simple. I used shades of red. Now, these Spectrum Noir TriBlend markers, they come with the dark, medium, and the lighter shades. That's why I love using this color because I don't have to go searching for color combinations or maybe the dark and lighter tones. Now here I am coloring the mushroom, the head of the mushroom using the different shades of red and also the roof of that little house. I'm using slightly lighter tones of browns to color in the rest of the mushroom and also the house. Now here you could actually use any color combination that you like if you want it a little more on the darker side or even on the lighter side. Don't forget to color in that beautiful little garden around your mushroom house. Now here's a closer look at this colored image. I love how small and tiny this is, but well, very impactful when we add it to our card front. Now I decided to place my focal point on the lower left corner and also decided to add some color to this focal point. Now for that, I will be using the Flowing Drop Stencil by Altenew. This is a beautiful background and I absolutely love this. It gives like a water droplet look, which I feel would be perfect for my mushroom house, a little foresty feel. Now I chose the color yellow. This is the citrine ink from the Simon's Stamp Positively Saturated ink line, and I thought this matched perfectly with the red on our mushroom. Now, whenever I use a stencil, I like to ink blend around that panel just so that I don't have that stark white showing out. So here again, I use the Sunbeam Positively Saturated ink and just ink blended around where that stencil area is. Now I will stamp the sentiment, and for this I am using the Hello sentiment from the same Little Mushroom House stamp set. Now I like to use this grid transparency sheet by Simon's Stamp. It helps me align my sentiment. Also, since this is a very tiny, delicate sentiment, I'm using my Memento black ink. Usually for sentiments, I like to use my VersaFine Onyx black ink, but since this is such a delicate sentiment and my VersaFine Onyx black ink was new and juicy, so I didn't want all of that ink to smudge around. So here I stamped the word hello, and now for the splatters. Now this is something new to me. I do like shine and sparkle on my card, but I'm really enjoying the sparkles on my card. Uh, so here I have in my splatter box, I will be splattering very lightly some black and little yellow to match that background. The yellow that I splattered here is very subtle and probably the camera won't capture it, but in real life, I am really happy how this turned out with a very clean and simple look. It's now time to assemble our card. I used some double-sided tape to adhere this panel onto a top folding A2 size note card. Then I popped up my focal point using some foam tape. Now, whenever I'm using foam tape on any focal point or sentiment strip, I like to use some liquid glue. This gives me some wiggle room before I can finally go and fix the focal point. Now, shine and sparkle is something I really love on my cards, and this is my go-to when it comes to shine and sparkle. This is a Spectrum Noir glitter brush pen. Now, after that was done, I will give it a minute or so to dry before I add these white highlights. Now, make sure highlights of any kind, white or black, you need to make sure that all your sparkle and glitter brush markers are used prior to that, because if you use your glitter brush pens after using those highlights, it will smudge them. Well, here's a closer look at how beautiful that focal point looks and the little splatters of black. It's absolutely stunning. I love how this cut turned out and how clean and simple this was. Well, I went ahead and created something similar with that second die cut piece, and here instead of the yellow background, I used a very light green. And also I popped up this panel using some foam tape. So you see, even though I have dimension here, it's not as bulky and it would be easily gone through your mail. Now for this card here, I used the happy retirement sentiment, which I thought matched perfectly with that focal point. I hope you had fun watching today's video and got inspired to create something very clean and simple and use up all those tiny little stamps in your crafty stash to create a beautiful focal point for your card fronts. Now, all the products that I used here are listed down in the description box below. All of those are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using those links, I get a small commission at no additional cost to you. Well, thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.